Hello everyone, it's Tim here from MarketSharp and I want to welcome you to our webinar we got going today. I'm especially excited about this topic because it's been kind of interesting to watch this topic evolve over the past few months. So I think what we're going to discover today is some pretty cool stuff that's going to take us down a path that maybe a year or so ago we didn't think we were going to go down, but I think you're really going to love some of the content we got here today. So with that, as we go to the next slide, really this particular webinar is brought to you by three organizations: our company, MarketSharp, of course our friends at Grosso University, and they're going to be providing most of the content here today, and also our friends at Engage, who are doing a great job providing tools that can help people with the nature of the topic we're talking about here today. So on the next slide, I just want to talk about something and get this out of the way right now. Obviously, we all been through a business disruption, as this picture is kind of pointing out right now. And we really have. But here's the thing I've noticed, it's been quite incredible to watch. You know, this disruption that many of our businesses have really experienced, in many cases, have turned into, I don't know if godsend is the right word, but I'm telling you, there's some companies that are really knocking it out of the park right now. And I think that's something that's very, very interesting, because a few months ago, I think many of us thought that that wouldn't be the case, but it certainly is the case. And what we're trying to do here, going to the next slide, is we're trying to really talk about things that redefine what I would call business as usual. You know, again, over the past month or 2 months or 3 months, a lot of people have used this term, the new normal. And I'm not crazy about that, because what that to me indicates is it indicates something that everything has changed. And really everything hasn't changed. A lot of things are very, very similar or very much the same as they were prior to the business disruption we've had. But there are some things we need to redefine a little bit and make some tweaks on to really operate in this market that we're in right now. So that's really what we're trying to do with content that we're providing here today, is talk about some of these things that many businesses are redefining in their business and the way they do business, to help them get through this, and in many cases, help them really thrive through this. And again, going to the next slide, some good news here, proceeding on, we're in a great position at MarketSharp, and the next slide is actually going to point out some things that we determined. We got a ton of many of the country's best home improvement companies that use our CRM. Many of you on this webinar are that, so we appreciate that. But what we can do is we can dive into the numbers and the data and the metrics in the aggregate and really see what's going on. And since the COVID thing started, we've been doing this on a weekly basis. And I can tell you, at the worst, very early on, leads were down about 60%. They really were, because people were kind of shell-shocked. But since then, these numbers have been going up, 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 and up. And this is the last week that we really analyzed, which was the last week of July. And look at what we got going on here. We got some numbers that are really quite incredible. What we did is we take the aggregate numbers that represents about $3.3 billion worth of home improvement installations throughout the year, and put them together and came up with these numbers. And the number of leads or inquiries that are coming in compared to 2019, you can see we're up this year by 14,660, meaning we're operating at 133% of last year's leads that are coming in. Kind of amazing. If you look at some of the other numbers, the number of leads that turn into appointments and actually demoed, also up about 1,997, so up about 109% of last year. Net sales up 101% of last year. Net revenue up to 105% of last year. And average sale is even up at 103% of last year. But one thing I find quite curious here is when you look at the number of inquiries at 133%, I ask myself the question, why aren't demos and sales also up that much? And I think the reason for that is some of the processes that many of us go through to get people through this sales cycle really aren't refined to really blend in with what's going on right now. So that's lagging a little bit. Not that it's bad news, we're up in all those too. But I think the purpose of some of the content we're going to provide here today is to bring some of these other numbers in your process along with the number of inquiries that are coming in to really, really impact sales and profits. So a couple other things I found out, I did some searches on Google Trends. And on the next slide, and this won't be a surprise to many of you, But on the next slide, what we're going to see here is web searches for given types of products. And I just did a couple. Here we got window replacement. And if you look at that line chart there, this is actually the number of Google searches for the keyword window replacements since last year. So this is running about a year. And as you can see here, we're operating at way more than any time throughout the year. And the next slide is going to point out something a little bit different. And what that is door replacement. As you can see, same story. More Google searches than ever. People are home, they're thinking of doing improvements, they got a little extra money, that's what's going on. The next slide points out something very, very interesting. And if I were you, I would go fiddle with this Google Trends thing. It's kind of fun, actually. Just go Google Trends. You can go in there and start fiddling with this. And what I did is I compared the keywords window replacement to replacement windows. Now, many of us in this business, if you're in that business, we like that terminology, replacement windows. We're just used to that. But I think what this points out is that consumers don't necessarily think like we do. They think of the word window replacement more. And consequently, if you look here, the number of Google searches for window replacement are about double what they are for replacement windows. So Google Trends can tell you a lot of things if you just go fiddle with it a little bit. So I just wanted to share a couple of those things before I turn this over to Dominic to let us know that things are really rocking. They really are. So moving on, the next slide is going to point out something very interesting regarding the agenda we're going to talk about here today. We already talked about the good news. In a second here, I'm going to introduce Dominic from Grosso University, who's going to detail the 11-step hybrid sales process. And let's stop there for a second. Let's talk about this hybrid sales process concept. The content for this webinar is really an evolution of our industry's reaction to the business disruption we all experienced earlier in the year. If you think about it, for weeks, everybody jumped on the virtual selling bandwagon as normal in-home appointments diminished in quantity. They really did for a while. But since, things have stabilized a bit in many areas, but a ton of lessons were learned, and hence we're doing this webinar on what's now being called hybrid selling. So defining hybrid selling, I kind of define it this way. It's a model that blends together the best of virtual and in-home selling in an effort to optimize the experience for three entities. First off, the customer, secondly, the salesperson, and thirdly, the home improvement company that the salesperson works for. So that's what we're going to chat about here today. Sprinkle in the content. We're going to give you a glimpse and a little bit of information from the sponsors of today's webinar. Hope you don't mind that. Learn a little bit more about MarketSharp, what it can do for your business. Learn more about what Engage can do for your business. We're going to talk about technology in general. And then we're going to also learn what our friends at Grosso University are up to. And they're up to a lot of stuff and providing a lot of training for our industry. And then we're going to wind down with a little Q&A. And then we'll turn you all loose. So with that, what I want to do is I'm going to introduce a fellow person from the state I'm in, Dominic Caminata from Wisconsin, and we're in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Dominic is in the Madison area. So Dominic is somebody I've got to know over the past couple of years, and he is doing an awesome job with what's going on at Grosso University. So Dominic, are you with us?
Thank you, Tim. All right, everybody. I appreciate Tim doing a marvelous introduction. Some of those numbers are pretty staggering to think about. And when I read an article recently that basically showed the fact that the home remodeling industry was down as much as 70% of companies actually saw a decline in the amount of business they saw when COVID first hit, right? And it shocked the world. It took us all by surprise. And obviously, if you know the story of myself and Nick Richmond, we jumped right into the virtual bandwagon, so to speak, as Tim was mentioning, right away out of sheer survival. They shut things down pretty tightly in some of the areas, especially there in Chicago. And again, change is the mother of innovation. And again, change is the mother of invention, right? So we kind of got forced into this virtual world. Little did we know how many benefits were going to come of this thing. So I think the beginning of stages of COVID for those companies that embrace that virtual strategy was really a slingshot forward into the hybrid selling platform that we're going to be discussing today. And what do I mean by a slingshot forward? Well, really for a lot of these companies that were going through COVID-19 in the beginning, if you're shut down, pretty much your option was to sit at home and do nothing or to jump into the virtual world, right? And make the most of it. And what happened was the companies decided to go and run virtual leads. They found out very quickly, in order to be successful in virtual selling, I have to do everything I was doing in the home, only better now. So I have to be more dialed in. I have to be more systematic. I have to be more methodical in nature. And the great part about that is when we started seeing success in the virtual game, closing fresh leads on virtual appointments over 40, 50%. When we unleashed our salespeople back into the home, it was game over. And right now, companies all over the country, especially clients of Grosso University, are seeing record numbers, not just in leads and volume, but also in sales, right? And like Tim said, there's some companies that maybe have more leads than they're used to, but they're not quite sure how to handle them. Maybe it's the virtual side of things that they're struggling with. But like Nick Richmond's company, for example, they were 100% virtual there at Matrix, and they were selling about $800,000 to $1 million a week running strictly virtual leads. And now that the guys are back in the home, they're seeing numbers. They had a guy write up $800,000 on a one-call close on design build basements his first month out of COVID. So the advantage is you really embrace this stuff and get really dialed in, take this time to really sharpen the axe. It's one thing I always say, I think it was an old Abe Lincoln quote, if I have 8 hours to cut down a tree, I'll spend 6 hours sharpening my axe. That's something we failed to do where we're just in the grind of it all, right? So some of the stuff we're going to talk about today, as Tim mentioned, the hybrid model, what we're finding is if you build out your sales methodology and your technology the right way, whether you're doing it in-home or virtually, you are all set to go. So the points we always try to make is, whether you go virtual or whether you're doing things in-home, you should be aiming to go paperless. You should be aiming to do your presentation on an iPad versus the 3-ring binder. There's a lot of companies still embracing the old horse and buggy strategies, right? Again, you should be doing a lot of these things to maximize your performance. So again, your salespeople can really dominate and master both aspects of your business, right? What we found is, if you listen to me talk about virtual selling historically, I'll openly admit when I first dove into it, it was horrendous. Because one thing I kept hearing from companies is, Dominic, virtual selling is different. It's not the same as in the home. You can't get the homeowner's attention. You can't get them to sit still. You can't get them involved. It's harder to get them excited about your product. You can't put things in their hands, right? So my first virtual appointment, I remember at the end of it thinking, like, what in the world just happened? I was completely way off in left field, and I was basically going off the system and the methodology that I've been training on my whole career. So I had a timeout moment. I'm like, Dominic, let's just think about this. These are still the same people that I'd be seeing in person, right? And what happens is distance has a way of diluting us to believing that the relationship doesn't matter, right? And that was at my own fault. I was thinking, well, the things that worked in the home are not going to work virtually. But then when I started to think about it, I'm like, the process does not change. I just need to reimagine this now for the virtual world, right? So that's exactly what I did. I spent literally about 3 weeks locked in my basement at home under quarantine, taking our entire step selling methodology and reimagining every single step of it for the virtual world, figuring out what technology can we use here? How can I get the customer involved here? What visual aids do I need to get them emotionally involved? Things of that nature. I put together this 11-step methodology. And when it was all said and done, I went back in full force, running leads full time, 3 or 4 virtual leads a day for weeks. And my first few weeks getting back into this with this new methodology, I was closing fresh window, bath, and siding leads at over 40% without ever stepping foot in the house. So obviously that instilled my belief that we had something truly unique, because the numbers I was hearing from these other companies was like 5%, 10% at best. And I absolutely refuse to believe that. These are still people, and I know how to sell. I just got to reimagine for the virtual world. How can I emulate what we did in the home virtually? And that's essentially how this all came to be. Now, as things are loosening up throughout the country, people have the opportunity to get back into the homes. This hybrid model is really the new reality that we need to be maximizing right now. So for the very simple reason, if you're not running virtual at all, you're missing out a lot of clients that would sign up with you if you offered virtual consultations. Now, it's not just so much to offer virtual, you have to know how to run those leads, right? You have to know the methodology behind it. So you take everything you did in the home, now it's on steroids. I did a podcast with a guy named Jeb Blunt. He's one of the top sales trainers in the world right now. And he says, if you weren't that great in-home selling, you're going to absolutely suck at virtual selling. And that's the truth behind it, because you got to be more polished, more dialed in, more methodical in nature. If I was an owner trying to figure out who to put on my virtual sales team, it wouldn't be my least productive salespeople. It would be my killers that are super methodical and know the system forwards and backwards, because that's truly what it takes in order to really thrive in the virtual world, right? But this hybrid model, having the opportunity, you can obviously lead with in-home. That's still the ideal approach, right? But then if that's not an option, I'm not going to just burn that lead. I'm now going to switch gears and switch them to a virtual encounter, a virtual experience. And that's the things we're going to talk about. What are the differences, the nuances of both? And how can I offer this as an option for my organization to maximize my performance, right? So this is our 11-step process that we created. Now, what I want to show you here, this is very interesting because proof's in the pudding. We talk about Grosso University online. We have an online training platform with hundreds of hours of content. And some of that content that's on there is yours truly running full virtual leads from start to finish. Because I wanted to prove to people that what we're talking about here is not a theory that could work for you. This is something that's proven effective with real people every single day. So what we have here is a time lapse of a full virtual appointment. Now, this is a 4.5-hour appointment that I sold a walk-in shower for. It was actually a walk-in shower for over $18,000 exclusively on their cell phone. So this is right off the customer's cell phone, right? So all the steps are there: your introduction, needs analysis, inspection. You know, they take me into their bathroom. They're doing a detailed inspection. Then, of course, we're going through doing a masterful company story, showing them the nuances of our company, right? And one thing that I make point of with Engage here, obviously Engage is a big part of our success, is offering a very, very emotional and powerful about us company story to get that customer emotionally attached to you, right? And it really, you think of any movie, right? So I always think about this. I don't know if you ever watched a Pixar movie and by the end of it, you were tearing up. However, you've had something really sad happen to you in your life and you didn't cry. Why is that? So videos and movies, things like that, they really key to our emotions, especially if you have the right music playing in the background and you have the right theme. And if you have a good production team, for example, we got a multimedia team at Grosso University that can do this stuff. A good production team can instill that emotion into the video. So when your customers watch that, it kind of tugs on their heartstrings a little bit, right? They feel emotionally attached to your company, and it really solidifies that trust and that likability for you and the business that you represent. So definitely recommend that. But you kind of getting through this process, the same stuff that we taught: evolution, your product presentation, the design, getting to the closing process, doing price delivery, financial terms. This is a client that was very stubborn. They said, there's no way I'm making a decision tonight at least 3 or 4 times. And by the end of it, if you can tell, you got a happy Dominic Caminata, because I ended up selling an $18,000 bath sale remotely without ever stepping foot in that customer's house. So that's the magic of it all. Now, I made a full webinar video with my partner, Nick Richmond, on the advantages of virtual selling. And this is something people don't think about. A lot of, human beings that gravitate towards the negative, right? That's just human nature. They think virtual selling is difficult. There are challenges, right? There are things that are going to make it more difficult. Well, when you really lay out all the advantages of virtual selling in this hybrid model, it's really undeniable. I actually had one day, and I always joked about it with Nick, like, I got my leads for the day. Like Tim said, we're both Wisconsin natives. I live in Madison. He lives up there in La Crosse. And I looked at my schedule. I had an appointment in Kenosha, which is obviously on the southeast side of the state. Then I had another appointment in Green Bay. And then I had another appointment in Prairie du Chien. Now, if Tim's listening to this, he would know, like, there's no way, unless you have like a teleport system, that you're going to get to all 3 of those houses in one day. It would have been like 800-900 miles of driving for all I know, right? Whereas all I had to do, because these are all virtual appointments, is drag my butt downstairs in my studio, turn on my computer, and I'm ready to go. And all those advantages, right? I don't have to worry about as much about what my breath smells like. I can put filters on the computer to enhance my image. Most of our sales reps right now, in order to run virtual or in-home appointments, are having to wear a mask the whole time. I don't have to wear a mask when I'm running virtual leads. They get to see my face. They get to see that beautiful smile that's so important to show and illustrate, right? So all those nuances, again, I get to invest more time for each client, which that's one thing I want to make very clear. Those of you that are watching, those viewers right now that are watching this webinar, if you're doing virtual appointments and you find that your virtual appointment is only an hour, hour and a half, you are absolutely shooting yourself in the foot. What I find is the opposite needs to be the case. A virtual appointment typically takes more time and is longer in nature because I have that physical barrier. I'm not able to get the customer physically involved, which means I need to spend more time on all the other little details of what it takes to deliver a masterful presentation, differentiating what's in it for me, price conditioning, of course, emphasizing the trial closes and the exclusivity, right? All the things that make that masterful presentation, I need to be more dialed in and spend more time on. So I found that my average virtual appointment, when properly conducted, was 3.5, almost 4 hours long. And it is what it is, right? Especially with all the other things, all the other disadvantages. I think when you're in the home, we take for granted of the fact that we can walk in, we can see a picture on the wall, we can see the car in the garage, we can see the hunting, the hunting stuff displayed. So we have things that we can connect with them instantly on. And if you're one of those natural born salesman type, you can use that as ammunition to really just hammer it home, right? And you can be in and out of that house in 2 hours and having them loving you to death. That's not as easy to do when you're talking to somebody through a cell phone or a computer. But I need to make sure I'm executing those little nuances of selling more elaborately and being a more masterful in nature, because I cannot feed off of the surroundings, my environment as easily, right? So those are the things we talk about, but it can be done. We're proving it every single day in our retails. And that's one thing I wanted to mention. So you saw Tim's charts there where there's companies right now seeing record numbers of leads and record numbers of sales. And right now, 3 months in a row, Matrix here, Nick Richmond's business, they just got recognized top 47 in the US for home remodeling. They've had 3 months in a row, record months in the company's history. So COVID, everything came to a halt. They quickly jumped into virtual. And now that they're able to get back in the home and develop this hybrid model we're talking about here today, 3 consecutive months out of this shutdown, they're having record months as a result. So that's the importance, guys. But that's how powerful it is to take time to sharpen the X. How often do you preach that to your salespeople? Sharpen the X, sharpen the X. And they sit around and they just keep developing their same old bad habits and reinforcing their bad habits. Whereas COVID forced us to make a change, and it made these guys so much sharper and so much better. Basically, when they get back in the home, they're tearing it up. So what we're talking about here, step 1 in our 11-step process, preparation. Obviously, they say if you fail to prepare, you're preparing to fail. And proper preparation does prevent poor performance. Now, especially in virtual, it's so vital that you prepare for that lead. So a lot of people have a hard time wondering, what do I do to get the measurements, right? What do I do to do a proper inspection? How do I do that? Well, what Matrix did, which is very creative, which I recommend to all companies, when they set that lead in the beginning, they have these ready-made videos that they send the client. And what it is a little tutorial video that the customer gets to watch. They get an email to them that shows exactly what measurements they need and how to get those measurements. So when they do the virtual appointment, when they see them face-to-face, the representative already has the measurements they need. So it's a very, very nifty little part of the presentation. So what I'll do, I'll show you a little clip of this video.
So the first thing that we need to do when taking measurements of your wet space is obviously make sure that we have a tape measure. We're gonna go ahead and start off with the back and left side wall here. This is gonna be opposite of the shower head. Now the measurement for this wall and the wall with your shower head would be virtually doing the same exact type of measurement. So what we're gonna do, we'll move the shower curtain out of the way. We'll go ahead and take our tape measure, put it all the way to the wall here. We'll lock it in place to make sure that we can see what our measurement is. Now, for the design consultant, the best thing would be is for you to go ahead and take your phone at this point and just snap a picture of that measurement.
So right there, they're taking the homeowner through step-by-step what they need in order to run that virtual appointment, and they're able to do full design build based on refinishing projects, in some cases that are $120, $130, $200,000, multiple six figures, and they don't need to ever step foot in the house because they walk the homeowner through how to measure the foundation, how to get basically the blueprint layout of the space that we're working with, and they can design that completely remotely without ever going into their house. It's absolutely incredible what they're doing, right? Now, preparation. Now, one thing I hammer into my sales forces is, again, preparing for the lead by taking care of yourself first. I always ask my salespeople, how much sleep are you getting at night, right? It's something that's not talked about enough. If you're sleep deprived in this business, I don't care if you're running virtual or in-home selling, you're going to burn out. The burnout factor is for real in this job. That's one thing Rick Grosso, our mentor, always used to hammer into our heads, is a day of lead running is the equivalency of jackhammering for 8 to 10 hours. So it's mentally exhausting. You're pouring your heart and soul into those appointments, right? It's emotionally draining, especially when you hit with continual rejection. But if you deprive yourself of sleep, not only reducing your energy and your ability to perform, you actually are in fact lowering your IQ and your brain capacity. So make sure you're recharging your batteries. Again, I always say, human beings are one of those mammals, unfortunately, that cannot go without sleep. I think I heard like dolphins, for example, could shut off half the brain at a time, so they never need to fully go to sleep. Human beings need that. So don't be watching Netflix till 4 a.m, binge watching, having a few cocktails, and then try to wake up at 6 or 7, take care of the family, and go run the leads, right? So get a nice full night's sleep. We recommend at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Now, let's say, for example, you cannot get a full night's sleep. One thing I train my salespeople to do, the last thought a lot of times you have before you go to bed is the first thought you have when you wake up. Now, again, the brain cannot tell the difference between real and imagined experiences, right? So if I tell myself before I go to bed, I'm going to feel like crap in the morning and I'm going to feel sleep deprived, guess what? When I wake up, I'm going to feel tired, I'm going to feel exhausted, I'm going to feel sleep deprived. If before I go to bed, I start planting the thoughts into my mind, when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to feel fully recharged. I'm going to be ready to conquer the day, be ready to have an amazing morning routine, eat a balanced breakfast, get a workout in, whatever it is. So start telling yourself the positive things that are going to happen. Even if you have 5 hours of sleep, you wouldn't believe. You wake up, you feel fully recharged, and you're ready to go dominate the day. So it's a little bit of advice. Now, I always recommend waking up at a reasonable hour, of course, getting a fitness regimen in. You sell proportionate to how you feel. So everyone watching this webinar, repeat this after me. You sell proportionate to how you feel. And sales is simply a transference of feeling, right? And he or she who is in the most control of their emotions and their energy is in control of the conversation. Make sure that you get that fitness regimen. There's so many benefits to it, along with improving your attitude, reducing pain and anxiety, boosting your IQ level, giving you more clarity of thought. Are any of those beneficial to your performance in sales? Think about it, right? If I can have less stress, less anxiety, less depression, more energy, get the endorphins going, get the blood flowing, boost my IQ, have more clarity of thought, that's going to allow me to truly focus on controlling my own inner emotions, control my heart rate, because they had done studies on this, that the customer's heart rate will mimic yours. It shouldn't be the other way around, right? And make sure that I can go through 2 or 3 appointments and still have plenty of energy left for my family when I get home. So those are all things that you need to be key into, right? Eat breakfast, most important meal of the day. Now, I don't care if you're running virtual or in home, it takes energy. So make sure you put food in your body so your brain feeds off the foods you eat, right? Food is energy. That was taught to me in my wrestling days. If I didn't eat and I didn't get the protein and the carbohydrates and stuff to fuel my brain and my body, I couldn't think straight. I couldn't perform good. I was depressed. My attitude sucked. Make sure you're doing that stuff to give your body the ample energy. I would hate to go on a lecture on this because we got limited time in this webinar, but when you eat moving forward, just one little bit of advice I want to tell you. And this is easier said than done, but it's really simple. From now on, every food you eat, think about what it does for your body first instead of how it tastes. Because most of the time when you choose the foods that you want to eat, it's based on the taste of the food, not for what it does for your body. So really educate yourself on the foods you're eating and what it's doing for you. Is it empowering you, giving you energy, giving you more clarity of thought, giving you more energy, all that stuff that we said, repairing your muscles, right? All those things are absolutely crucial. So think about those things, right? Now, getting your home studio ready. Now, if you're truly running a lot of virtual appointments, doing this hybrid model, or let's say you have one sales rep dedicated to running virtual appointments. One thing I always preach is make sure you set up your studio at home or your studio at your office with a green screen. So I have a green screen behind me right now. And what I would do is if I'm running a virtual appointment for a bath, for example, I would have a picture behind me of a beautiful walk-in shower, something absolutely gorgeous and eye-catching that we've done. So it's implanting that imagery in the customer's mind throughout the whole process, right? So again, human beings don't think in words, they think in pictures. So the more I can implant that imagery, again, it gets that emotion going. If I'm selling a roofing system or siding or windows, I would have a beautiful picture illustrating whatever product that I'm aiming to sell that customer on that one call close, right? So get your home studio set up. Again, you want to make sure you have proper lighting. And again, there's a lot of studies behind this, but if you're running virtual appointments, guys, so you can see right now, you can see my hands. There's something wired in our brain where if we can't see someone's hands, the brain doesn't trust them. It's like, what is this person hiding from me, right? So make sure now, if they're standing or sitting, either way, make sure that the client can see your hands, what your hands are doing. Because how much of communication is your hand gestures? You see me flailing my arms around the whole time I'm doing this webinar, right? So make sure they can see your hands, right? It's going to build trust. Make sure I'm maintaining eye contact. So there's a lot of studies on this, but make sure I'm maintaining eye contact. Now, how do I do that virtually? Simply look at the camera. Look at the camera. Now, the reason why this is hard is because when I'm looking at the camera, my brain wants to focus on the customer's face, which a lot of times is in the middle of the screen, right? So you got to be able to practice with this because you can train your peripheral vision to not just look at the camera, but also key to the customer's body language and their nonverbal cues. Again, all this stuff takes practice, but this is getting really advanced when you're doing virtual selling. All the things that mattered in the home to build trust and build that relationship matter even more virtually. Smile, right? Smiles go miles. Make sure I'm not taking myself too seriously. Inject humor, make it fun, entertain. All the things to hold the listener's attention that we talk about, right? But again, get your studio set up at home is absolutely crucial. Again, we can obtain the measurements with that virtual tutorial. Now, of course, if you can't do the measurements with a virtual tutorial, there's a lot of technology out there, such as Eagle View and Hover. And again, a lot of people have heard of these programs, or when they set the lead, they put in the order for the Eagle View. And with Eagle View, for example, they got this new walls program where you can not just obtain the measurements of the siding and the roofing, but you can also get the window dimensions as well. So make sure you're taking advantage of these technologies. Any additional ammunition that you have is going to give you all that leverage later on in the process. And again, it's going to make you seem like a professional. Now, research the customers in advance for optimal performance. I had a virtual appointment, and this is going to sound a little too invasive, but occasionally I'll look the customers up on social media. I'll obviously research the neighborhood, research their house. For the giggles, I just looked him up on social media, and I found out that he has a friend of mine as a connection. So I did a little digging, and I found out that they actually know each other really well. And he happened to be one of my best friends. So immediately I had a common connection with this person I knew I had as another card I could play in my back pocket. And sure enough, when I used it on the virtual lead, instantly we had an amazing conversation, built boatloads of rapport, and they absolutely loved me to death. And shop around was no longer an issue. So do your research in advance. It's going to give you the upper hand, again, when you get into the process here. So again, proper preparation, right? Just make sure you're doing whatever necessary to feel your body, get you mentally dialed in, and get the technologies orchestrated so you can maximize your performance. Now, of course, introduction. So what is the introduction? I always say anytime you're dealing with a client, whether it be virtually or in the home, you got to assume that there's a wall built up against being sold, right? So everyone has a wall built up against being sold. They resist it in the beginning. Now, the key word is the beginning they resist it, right? It's no different. I actually walked into an Office Max not too long ago, and I was looking for a removable portable hard drive because we do a lot of filming in our studio at Grosso University. And I walked into the store, and the innocent sales clerk said, "Hey, can I help you?" And what did I say? "No, I'm just browsing." And I took a few steps, and I'm like, "Darn it, Dominic, you train on this all the time. Let the poor guy help you. I don't know where this stuff is, right? He's just trying to help you, find the prize. He's not going to kill you." So I said, "I apologize. Actually, I'm looking for a removable hard drive for our camera. You mind showing me where those are?" He's like, "Absolutely, follow me." Sure enough, he took me to where the hard drives were. It was a lot more efficient. He educated me on what he would recommend for the camera that I have, and then boom, I'm in and out of there much more efficiently. So why do we resist? Well, the reality is the average human being is exposed to between 3,000 and 4,000 solicitation attempts every single day. If you look all around you with your cell phone, ads popping up left and right, internet, billboards, TV ads, radio ads, you go to any store, there's signs everywhere trying to get you to buy stuff, right? You can't escape it. What if we didn't have a wall built up against being sold? We'd be buying absolutely everything, right? So we have this wall built up for self-defense, especially from salespeople. People that we smell out as being a salesperson, people are going to have that wall built up. Now, one thing I always imagined is before I got into the industry, if someone told me a contractor was coming out to my home, the image I would have in my mind would be some guy pulling up in a rusty old pickup truck, typical truck in a truck. He'd have a pit bull chained to his bumper. He'd have a t-shirt that says, shit happens. He would have a couple missing teeth, beard down to here. So that's what I would picture coming up to my house. Now, when you show up, you have a briefcase or shoulder bag for paperwork, you're clean cut, well-dressed, well-groomed, or when you tune into that virtual lead, they can see you're a clean cut, clean shaven, decently presented individual with a filter that makes you even look more handsome. So the reality is they smell it right away. Oh, shoot, honey, we got a salesperson coming in here. Just so you know, we're not buying nothing, right? So the whole goal of my introduction is to obviously gain entry into the home, or again, gain entry into the virtual encounter, get them to lower their wall, lower their defenses. Again, think of their guards up when you get home. I want to get them to lower their guard, get them to be comfortable and relaxed. One thing we train on at Grosso University, I cannot effectively close somebody unless they are comfortable and unless they are relaxed. So our introduction, we have several steps in our intro that we train on. And what we found is the exact same intro that worked for us in the home works virtually. So the whole point of gaining entry, right? Confirming who you're talking to. When you gain entry, we have a transition that takes us from the door to the table. If I can get the customers to get to the table, that's obviously a good place because I don't want to them sitting on the couch ideally and falling asleep on me. So get them to an upright chair or get them sitting at the kitchen table together. Make sure both husband and wife are present. Even if you can establish the seating arrangement, make sure both husband and wife can see the computer screen, take control, right? Which again, all these things are challenges, but again, I had a lot of success when I said it the right way with the right person, getting both husband and wife in front of a phone or a computer screen to make sure they both can see me, right? Make sure I deliver my formal introduction once I have their undivided attention. So I use the exact same intro, whether it was virtual or in the home. So I say, once again, I'd like to thank you for allowing us into your home. We really appreciate the opportunity. And of course, we'd be honored to get together and earn your business on the project while we're here today. However, the purpose of this meeting is just to give you information on our various products and services. We at Grosso University feel our best consumer is an educated consumer, which is why the price we work up for you today will actually be good for 30 days, so you can relax. We'll also take this time to make you aware of any special promotions we have going on right now. So if and when you're ready to move forward with a window, bath, or roofing renovation, you have all the information you need to feel comfortable with your decision. We just feel it's a nice low-key way of doing business. Wouldn't you agree? So to break this down, the reason why this is important, guys, why I'm spending time on it, is if you don't deliver that intro the right way and set the stage for the appointment, the guard's still going to be up and you're not going to be able to land your punches. You're not going to be connecting with everything else that follows subsequently. Make sense? So make sure you get that intro mastered. Now the SRLR acronym that's on here, that's smile, repeat their first name, look them in the eye, and relax them. That's really the key, guys. The whole appointment, we call this a velvet hammer. Our entire 11-step process, velvet hammer approach. And what that means is I'm hammering them because I'm closing them on the first visit. However, they never feel pressure because I'm keeping it comfortable in the if and when stage until we get to the very end when the close is a natural conclusion. Okay, the next step, of course, the needs analysis, the survey. Just as important in the home as it is virtually. Truth be told, guys, those of you viewers watching this, if you're an owner of a company, you can probably attest to this. This is a huge weakness that I always saw in my salespeople. It's a huge weakness. I see a lot of salespeople shooting themselves in the foot in the needs analysis because they're not slowing down. They're not taking the time to fill this thing out in its entirety. Now, if you're an owner or manager watching this, one bit of advice that I'll give you right now is your salespeople should always be required to turn in their survey forms after every lead, whether or not they sold it. The reason why is based on how that survey is filled out, that literally tells you exactly what happened in that home. If the survey is only halfway filled out, there's a lot of things blank or missing, that tells you that the sales rep did what? He half-assed the lead, right? So it's a very important thing to really pin down. Now, what we did here is we took all of our survey forms and through a simple PDF expert upgrade, it basically converts all your PDF documents into digital format. So what that allows you to do very simply is whether I'm doing a virtual encounter or doing it in home, I can do it digitally now and not have to have all these paper survey forms. That's one thing I want you to think about with virtual sales versus going with the cutting the trees down, right? Going paperless is absolutely crucial, guys. If you're not going paperless, this is definitely something you should pursue. Because think about how inefficient is it that your salespeople are constantly having to come to the office, stock up on agreements, contracts, notice of cancellation forms, survey forms, credit card forms, whatever it is. And then every single day they're burning through these things and you don't see half of them, and all these brochures. Digitize all your documents, digitize all your contracts. So whether I'm in the home or running virtual appointments, I can do everything electronically. It also eliminates a lot of problems. First of all, if I use some of these software programs like Leap or One Click Contractor, just to name a few, what I can do is eliminate the chance that a sales rep will sell something off the menu. That eliminates that. How often does that happen in your organization? A sales rep sells something that you cannot actually build or you can't even offer, right? Plus, it makes everything in the production, the back end, a lot more expedited, because right then and there, when the sales rep gets the agreements, he gets the signature from the prospect, he can forward that email to the production team or your admin team, and then boom, you can start scheduling the site inspection or order the products. You can do things much, much faster. I recall cases where sales rep would take weeks to turn in paperwork for God knows what reason, and it was like pulling teeth, getting them to turn in their documents on a regular basis, right? So going electronically, going paperless is not just for those virtual clients. It's for people doing it in-home as well. It's going to eliminate a lot of change orders, going to expedite the process, and make everything hum along much, much smoother, right? So of course, going through this needs analysis and our survey, if you subscribe to Grosso University, we have entire courses just on the art of going through a survey, asking the right open-ended questions, seeding and layering, price conditioning early and often, using the form method of communication, family, occupation, recreation, motivation, building rapport, maintaining rapport, getting any potential objections out on the table. All those things can be found in our Grosso University platform, and we definitely welcome you to take a tour of the platform. There's some amazing content in there. So I'm not going to dive too deep into this, but the main point I'm getting at is you can digitize everything that you have before to basically do in-home or virtual selling, this hybrid model. Now the inspection. One thing that I find that companies are a little gun shy to do is to get the homeowner involved with the inspection. Now we showed you earlier in step 1 preparation how we sent that tutorial video out to the customer, right? To get those measurements. Now, how many companies do you think are doing that? They schedule a virtual appointment for a customer and they send them a tutorial video that's professionally made that takes that homeowner through step by step. Almost nobody's doing this, right? So when you send that video out that takes them through step by step and they're seeing your representative, he's very professional, he's very eloquently spoken, he's showing them exactly what needs to be done, how much more professional is your company look now compared to the Joe Blow Chuck in the truck that's just holding his cell phone and doing selfie mode, right? So this really just makes you shine above and beyond any other company. The next thing is, if they go and do the measurements for you, they're invested into the whole process. Now, by getting that homeowner physically invested into what they're doing with you, it makes them far more invested in you as a company. And when they're invested in you, guess what? They're buying from you. So don't be afraid to get the homeowner involved with the inspection. I actually found a lot of the customers enjoyed the experience. Now, if you can't get the measurements based on a tutorial video, don't be afraid to have that customer take their phone around the house, put it in the camera, have them hold on to it, and take you to each and every window, take you to the bathroom, talk them verbally over the Zoom meeting or the go-to meeting or whatever meeting you host, or if you have any other way of FaceTiming or connecting with them virtually. Don't be afraid to walk them through step by step exactly what to do. Now, if I knew I didn't have the measurements ahead of time, what I'll tell that customer right in the beginning of the process, I said, now before we get into everything, I just want to make sure you have a tape measure handy and a notepad to take notes, because we're going to be basically going through a few things in terms of the inspection, what we need to work up an accurate estimate for you. And I didn't have a single customer who says, no, I'm not going to grab a tape measure. Everybody was excited about it because they like to get involved. Now, if I'm in the home, same thing. I want to get them involved into the process. You always want your homeowners to come with you for the inspection. Ideally, what you want them to do is to hold the piece of paper, your inspection form like we have here, And as we're taking measurements, as we're finding problem areas, have the customer write them down, get them involved, get them invested. Like getting the customer invested, guys, it just makes them far more invested in you and your company and your experience. It builds the excitement. It gets them emotionally involved, right? So again, whether I'm doing it virtually or in home, the main goal of the inspection is to create urgency. You need to create a sense of urgency about doing the work. That's absolutely vital. They say most homeowners are starting a procrastination club, they just don't get around to it, right? So my main goal is to get them committed to doing the project sooner rather than later. Now, Rick Grosso always trained us on the cycle of motivation. He said, the reason why you're there is because the customer has a problem. Well, just because they have a problem doesn't mean they're aware of how bad it is. It's up to you, the agent of influence, to create that awareness as to how severe the problem is, which by creating that awareness, it'll cause additional pain or trauma. If they don't resolve the issue, the pain and trauma is going to be so severe that they have no choice but to shell out their hard-earned money for a solution. So one thing Rick always told me is like, Dominic, people do not go from problem to solution, especially when it involves their time or money. So I need to create that awareness, instill that pain or trauma, and then they're more apt to find a solution. So don't be afraid to kill a flea with a sledgehammer with this stuff. Now, you're not here to make someone feel bad, but you got to create the urgency about doing the work. After my masterful inspection, I should be able to get this commitment right here. So wow, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I can definitely appreciate why I'm here, and I commend you on being proactive. I'm sure you can agree, though, whether it be with us or any of our fine competition, getting this project done is definitely something you need sooner rather than later. True? Now, if they say yes to that, if I'm face-to-face with them, I usually get a handshake. I appreciate the opportunity to solve your problems here, or I appreciate the opportunity to help you with that, whatever your commitment is. But look them in the eye and get a handshake commitment. Now, if I can't get a handshake commitment, you can still verbalize it virtually and say, I appreciate the opportunity to help you with that. You're going to love what I have to show you. This happens to be a perfect project for what we do. And I know I can design something you'll love, and I know I can make it affordable. All right? So get them committed, guys. One objection I don't want to have to deal with in the close is what? Procrastination. If there's not enough urgency to get the work done, it doesn't matter how good of a discount I give them, right? They're just not in the market for it. So now you are the agent of influence. You can influence their decision. One story I always talk about, I had a sales rep one time. He went into a house on a bath lead because the customer had a leaky faucet. Well, we're not a repair service. We didn't do leaky faucets. What he did is he ended up selling them on $30,000 worth of windows. Now, the customer did not wake up that day and say, I could really go for 30 grand in windows today, right? Our sales rep influenced that, and that's the power of the whole process here, right? Then, of course, getting to the company story. So the company story is key, guys. I always tell my salespeople, if you don't get a firm commitment on your company story, you are not to move on to your product presentation. They need to be absolutely head over heels convinced that if they do business with anybody else, the project is more than likely going to tank, it's going to fail, and above anybody else without seeing any other product, that we are the company they want to do business with. Now, how do I do that? Engage is certainly a powerful tool for that. So I want to give you an example. I had mentioned earlier that having an About Us video that's emotional, that keys to their heartstrings is very important. So it's actually a client of ours at Grosso University called RoofMax, and we're building this out for them. I just want to give you an idea of just I'm not going to play this whole video, just a section of it, just to show you.
Todd and I got in the roofing business. You know, my brother Todd actually went, as he was going to college, he was working with a friend of the family, and that's how he paid his way through college. I only did it for about 6 months. And then a couple years went by. I ended up getting a job with MI Homes. I borrowed my father's ladder, put it on top of my Honda Civic hatchback, and that's kind of how Fiesel Roofing was born. So that was in 1988.
So you can kind of get the idea. We're not going to play the whole video, but if you have a really powerful emotional story that you can tell about your company and the history, the uprise of your business, the fact that you believe in the human element of doing business versus everything just technology, right? Even though we're doing virtual, we love that human interaction, which is absolutely vital. So you got to make it emotional, make it powerful, and that's what I love about using Engage for my presentations. Now, any third-party accolades, articles, stories that were written about your company, make sure those are in there. Now, one thing I want to instill in that customer is the fear of loss. So fear of loss is twice as motivating as hope of gain ever is, right? So what is the fear of loss? 96% of all home improvement contractors go out of business. That's a fact recorded by the Small Business Administration. 96% of all of them go out of business within 3 to 5 years. So one thing I always told to my customers is, let me ask you a question, John and Mary. Let's say you could go anywhere in the world on vacation, right? Your most dream destination you could ever think about. Where would you go on vacation? And let's say they picked Aruba, right? Now let's say you had a all-inclusive trip to Aruba that included hotel, airfare, all you can eat and drink while you're there. They even give you a free day trip to the spa. They're just going to pamper you, wine you, and dine you the whole time. And it was absolutely free. Would you take it? Well, some people say, well, if I have to wear a mask on the plane, no, right? Well, the reality is most people would take that, right? Now here's the one thing I want to make mention to you. There's only a 96% chance the plane will crash. Are you getting on that plane for that free vacation? So even if it was free, you wouldn't do it, even if everything about it feels right. Why am I talking about this? Well, 96% of all contractors go out of business within 3 to 5 years. That's why I'm sure you'd agree it's important. Anytime you're trusting someone to your home, that you trust somebody that is reputable, that has a history of satisfied customers, ideally has been around for a while, is going to be there to take care of you. Would you also agree that's important to you? So in any case, you want to make sure that you're dealing with a company that's a true professional. And again, cheap things aren't good, good things aren't cheap, right? You get a lot of companies that'll come in here and they'll say, I can bid the job for costs, I lose money in every job, and they're telling the truth. But that's the reason, the race to the bottom, this, again, trying to undercut the competition on price is the reason why so many companies go bankrupt, the number one industry for bankruptcies, right? So you tell them a story, right? You get them emotionally involved. Now, third-party stories, guys, is the number one way, storytelling, period, is the number one way to keep a customer emotionally involved. If you do any research on TED Talks, so they have these 18, 20-minute speeches they give, about 60% of every single TED Talk is storytelling, because that's the best way to hold a listener's attention. So make sure that when I'm doing my company's story, I'm not just talking facts and figures at them, right? Spitting just all these different opinions and information. Selling's not telling. I want to ask questions, get them involved, and I want to tell stories that pertain to the point at hand. One thing, Rick Grosso, I actually asked him recently, I'm like, how did you become so good at with storytelling, and why is it so effective? He's like, just from obviously 50 years of being in the trade, I've gotten really good at it, but storytelling is special because it's a way you can tell somebody something without actually telling them, because you tell them in the frame of a story. Because anything you tell a prospect, they tend to resist. So instead of saying, if you have an uninsured contractor out here and someone gets hurt, you can get sued, maybe I can phrase that in the form of a third-party story where that actually happened and get them to agree that they would be willing to invest more for a company that has that insurance versus one that doesn't, right? There's a little bit of advice. Third-party stories, personal stories of your own, make sure you're including those in. At some point in the company story, though, and I hate to drone on about this, you want to get that customer to open up about any previous bad experience they've had with a contractor. Because again, a lot of people have gotten burned historically by contractors and home improvement companies. Now, if I don't address it down in the company story, guess when that's going to come up? In the close, right? So you definitely need to make sure you're nailing that down in the company story. Now, the best way to extract that from them is to ask them if they've ever had a good experience with a contractor. Have you ever had a good experience with a contractor? Not a bad experience, right? And they're more likely to tell you the negative thing that happened than the positive, because that's how human beings operate, right? Now, one thing we want to point out here with Engage, the beautiful thing about it, if you're running virtual leads, take advantage of having a reliable internet connection. That's one thing people don't take advantage of, right? And if you're in the home running leads out and about out in the field, again, having a reliable internet connection is slim to none, right? So take advantage of that when you're running virtual appointments with Engage. You can actually put real websites and links into your presentation, so you can show them on the fly live some real updates to Guild Quality or Angie's List or any of these other, maybe the Better Business Bureau. You can show them real-time reviews. And then without skipping a beat, you can go right back to the presentation, and you don't have to log out of Engage at all. You just build it into your presentation. Another feature we absolutely love about Engage and why it's so powerful. So again, key to the fear of loss, guys, that's absolutely crucial. So you can see, just going through our first 5 steps of the process, guys, whether you're doing things in-home or you're doing them virtually, these are things that need to be done. And the best advice I can give you is make sure you're even more dialed in on all these things when we're pertaining to virtual. Now, again, Tim opened up the conversation early in the beginning. I want to give it back to Tim, because without the right CRM, which is what MarketSharp is really all about, none of this really matters, right? You need a way to organize your leads. You need a way to put together the right marketing program. Make sure that you have a repository for all your production jobs, production activities. You can generate more sales, integrate with all things like Home Advisor, QuickBooks. So I'm going to give it back to Tim. He's going to give you a little bit more insight of some of the power and the technology behind MarketSharp and how it can help you grow and scale your business.
Thank you, Dominic. Gosh, great advice. I'm back in a second with the remaining steps of the sales presentation. But we'll let him catch his breath here for a second. So as we go to our next slide, I just want to make a comment or two regarding what I consider the core of your business. All these awesome technology tools like one-click contractor and Leap and Engage and so forth. It's just so cool. Hover. It's just so cool, these things that are available. But when you think about it, the core of your business is really your data or your CRM. And I'm of the opinion that it's no longer an option. If you want to be optimum with success, is to have what I call an ISCRM, not just a CRM, but an ISCRM. As you can see on screen, what that means is an industry-specific CRM, built from the ground up for the way this business works. It's really different than selling pizza or whatever else, various CRMs are good at helping with. So looking at the next slide, there's a couple things I want to point out here. Is that MarketSharp has been at this game for a long time. It really has. The first version of MarketSharp was created by myself, back in about 1991. So been a while. So that was before the letters CRM were even put together. And the next slide is going to point out just a few things that we think are important. We like to call what we do here a tool that can help you truly turn data into dollars. And data is really becoming the currency of the future. It really is. And this CRM can help in the admin area of your business, marketing, sales, production, the whole works. We like to say what it helps you do is helps you do all the right things. And there's an important word we added off the end of that, consistently. It's one thing to identify what the right things that you're supposed to do are, but really being able to do them on a consistent basis. In many cases, you need the aid of technology here. We like to call MarketSharp a business in a box. Has about 340 built-in success elements ready for you to use. Some being marketing campaigns, forms, reports, email templates, texting templates, phone scripts, sales and production calendars, all sorts of things. So it's not just a capable software product, kind of a business that resides within that capable software product. So a couple things to look for, and I'm going to turn it back to Dom. So the next slide is going to show us something, that I think is pretty important. What you want is you want the core of your business, in this case, your CRM, to work with all the technology tools that you're using. And you really can't see all of them that are listed here, but we've gone to great lengths with MarketSharp to make sure we connect with tools like Leap and one-click contractor, and of course things like QuickBooks, or some of the web companies that are helping companies out in our industry. So it's really important that your CRM goes hand in glove with those tools, so you're not juggling all sorts of disoriented pieces of software, because that's really, really frustrating. One thing to look for on the next slide is really what's important. And what that is make sure your CRM is what I call holistic, meaning it's going to help you in all areas of your business that matter, your marketing, your sales, and your production. Because if you get a product that only is good at one of these, or maybe two of them, and you got to add something else to help you with the rest, it really, really slows down efficiencies, and that impacts your products, or your profits. So if you'd like to reach out and get more information on MarketSharp, many of you on this call already have MarketSharp, but the next slide is going to give you a little bit of contact information for us. Just schedule a free 45-minute consulting session with us. We'll take a look at your business, see what you're doing, see how we can help, or if we can help, configure a package that makes sense for your business, and get you started. So marketsharp.com, orders the 800 number there, 800-335-4254. So with that, Dom, back to you. And we got a lot to cover yet, so why don't you get through the last few, and then we'll wind the webinar up.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, definitely make sure you're taking advantage of these tools. Like Tim just said there, I hear this commonly from our clients that they're currently in a CRM that doesn't allow them to track and monitor their production the way they would like to. So make sure you have a holistic CRM that really monitors and tracks and data logs all aspects of your business. because you don't want to limit yourself when it comes to, again, the core foundation of your company there. Again, step 6 in the process. Now, again, I do networking with a lot of companies all over the country. And this is one weakness I see from a lot of companies is this whole evolution part of the process. We call this the industry options section. Before I go and sell them on my solution, I want to make sure that I first kill the competition, that I take it off the table, right? Now, if I'm selling a roofing system, let's say I'm selling a metal roof. Well, I first need to kill all other forms of roofing. If I'm selling an asphalt roof, I need to kill all other forms of roofing. If I'm selling a vinyl window, I want to kill the alternatives to vinyl, right? So you want to make sure that at some point in the process, you have this built into your presentation. Now, obviously, when I would train salespeople on in-home selling, they would go into the house. They would always have a big soft pack they would bring in. And in that soft pack, I'd always have samples of what the competition was offering, kind of the snapshot of the whole industry. That way, that homeowner essentially subconsciously feels they fulfilled their need to shop around. If I'm getting shop around commonly in the close, that means that I didn't effectively kill the alternatives to what I'm offering, right? Now, a lot of people wonder, how the heck do I do evolution virtually? I actually have a short little video here, but what this shows and proves is you can do evolution virtually just as powerful as you can when you're in the home. On this video, I also want you to listen to it because what it demonstrates is not just doing a master presentation and showing them samples, but injecting humor, having fun with the customer. So go ahead and watch this. Sample of that, Jason there, but this is all fiberglass really is. It's got a micro thin gel coat on it that kind of gives you that solid color. But once you get underneath that, and I don't know if you noticed that with the crack that they just put in there, but it's like this weird porous fiber material, but it has an extremely low impact resistance. Did I hear you correctly? Did you say that was your son's head?
No, it was his butt cheek.
His butt cheek? How does butt cheek get up there? How tall is he?
You.
All right, so you can kind of get the idea. So a lot of fun. But you can have, again, that relationship, the same type of relationship you would have with a customer when you're in the home, injecting humor, making it fun, cracking those smiles and jokes. Again, is just as powerful as ever when you're doing it virtually. Now, this is our formula of a master presentation that we train everybody on. Now, truthfully, this formula is used throughout the whole process, but we especially key to it when we get the samples out on the table or when we're presenting samples virtually. So Brian Tracy always trained at a young age, price only becomes a determining factor when I fail to differentiate. You hear this all the time. Oh, the competition's way cheaper than us, or our prices are too high. You ever hear a salesperson say that? The reason why the price is too high is because you fail to differentiate. If I don't differentiate, if they think I can get the exact same product down the road for the same money or for less money, why would I buy from you? So I need to explain how my product or service or my value proposition is unique, right? So the unique features and benefits of my company, my product, my solution, my service, my warranty package, whatever it is, anything I can differentiate, the better. I always did an exercise with my sales team. I would take our products and we'd write it on the board. How many differentiating points can we come up with everything that we offer? And with each one of those, that gives me an opportunity to, again, price condition and also create want or desire for my product because they can't get it anywhere else. Now, I need to not just differentiate, but I need to explain how are those unique features and benefits going to solve their problems more efficiently than any other product, right? What's in it for me? WIIFM. Of course, that's the customer asking that to the salesperson. What's in it for me? Why do I care? What problem does it solve? What features or benefits am I gaining? Again, they're not investing in you and your product because of what it is. And a lot of salespeople like to sell what the product is. They're buying their product or service because of what it does for them. Again, the benefits, the joy. Again, get them to play this positive movie in their head of owning your product. Anytime a customer buys anything, or anytime human beings buy anything, they always buy it hypothetically before they ever buy it in reality. And this hypothetical purchase is made as a positive and a negative movie. So the positive movie is, what are all the great things that I'm going to gain from investing in this product or service? Now, the negative movie is, what could go wrong if I make the wrong decision and invest in this product or service, right? Now, your job is obviously implant that imagery and help them in building that positive movie, which is going to lower their buying threshold and get them excited, build that want, that desire. So again, if you heard me speak before, I talk about when I purchased a pontoon boat, I spent like 80 grand on this pontoon boat, right? And I couldn't buy the pontoon boat unless I bought a truck to pull it because the boat weighed 7,000 pounds. So within 2 days, I had purchased a truck and a pontoon boat, and I spent like $140,000. Why am I telling you this story? I went to the dealership to buy a golf cart. I went to buy a golf cart. I ended up buying a truck and a boat. Why is that? Because I wanted it. I wanted it so bad. No one was going to stop me, not even money. I didn't care, right? Because that positive movie of taking my family on these boating trips and entertaining with my friends and the joy and the smile. I'm always got a smile so wide in my face I can put a banana in there sideways, right? And the wind blowing through my hair. Of course, being sarcastic, but the reality is you got to do that same thing when you're selling in the home. Again, price condition effectively. So Rick Grosso is always huge on that. Price condition, price condition. From the moment you walk in the door to the very end, I'm price conditioning. That was always a huge weakness when I was on ride-alongs. Salespeople do not price condition enough. I need to do a $40,000 presentation for a $20,000 price. That's the bottom line. If I'm delivering price and I'm constantly getting sticker shock, I'm missing some of these major components of the formula, right? Now, trial closing, that's getting a commitment from that homeowner that whatever that differentiating point was, that unique feature or benefit that they love so much, get them to commit they would never accept a product or service without that feature or benefit. So again, it's not so much as to explain how it's different or how it benefits them. I need them to verbally commit to me they would never accept a product without that. Now, if I can get those commitments and then I show them how it's exclusive, they can't get it anywhere else, and that's how closing becomes easy. Now, it's not just so much to do this on one or two things. I need to be following this formula throughout the process. Even how you dress, how you communicate, how you look them in the eye, your voice inflection, your tonality, your confidence level, your certainty when you speak. All these things are a way you differentiate yourself and you transfer that feeling of confidence and certainty to that prospect. Again, more likely than not getting the signature on the dotted line. So do evolution, kill the competition, follow this formula. It's going to make a huge difference for your organization. Now, of course, the best close in the world is a masterful presentation. When a masterful presentation is done, the customer should be saying three things. I want it, I need it, I must have it. And that's what happened with that boat and that truck. I said, I must have this boat. No one's going to stop me. You can try. You can try tackling me to the ground and make sure I don't get it, but I'm going to buy it, right? So now, masterful presentation. Rick Ross always told me at a young age, like, Dominic, that product needs to walk on water. I don't care if you're selling a floor mat for the front door or you're selling a roof replacement, make that product walk on water. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. They got to be a 10 out of 10, just enthusiastic about what you're selling. And you can do this with anything if you do it the right way, right? Now, one thing I want to point out here, you can see these little tabs on the screen. I actually had a lot of feedback from salespeople that said, even when I'm in the home, Dominic, I have a hard time bringing the samples in because of COVID-19. I find a lot of people get freaked out if I leave the house, go out to my car, and then drag in these samples that they know full well has been in thousands of homes, and who knows how sanitary it is, right? So even if I'm doing in-home presentations, what a lot of our companies have done as a second resort, let's say the customer refuses that you bring the samples in, I built into my virtual presentation and my in-home presentation the various components of the product demo that the customer needs to see. So for example, let's say I'm showing the security features of the product. We built in videos that illustrate all the various security of the product, right? Let's say I'm showing the heat lamp demo. We put into this product the entire heat lamp presentation, again, so that customer can experience it just like they would if I was doing it at their kitchen table, right? And what I found was whether I was doing this in the home or doing it virtually, I was getting the same wow factors, the same excitement about the product that I would when I was in the home. So just to give you an example of what we mean here. All right, for the grand finale, if you're watching this video. So what I did here in the heat lamp presentation, you have the BTU meter. So I offset it, I put a few windows in front of there, show them the difference, show them how I put all of our competition together, what that means, and then of course we put our window in front of it, and it gets it down to 0, right? So very, very powerful. And of course, I'm able to narrate through that whole process as I'm doing it. All right. But you can do all the big parts of your product presentation that you're accustomed to doing at home. You can recreate those virtually so you can show them regardless of distance. So the relationship matters, price conditioning matters, your unique value proposition matters. All these things matter more than ever before with this new hybrid model. And you got to be on your A game. And I'm sure you've heard this a million times. We're living in a world right now where the customer is more educated and more sophisticated than ever before in history. That's why I need to do my research. I need to be properly prepared. I need to have the right step selling methodology so I have the upper hand, right? So I can take control of the conversation. So one thing you'll hear us talk about at Grosso University, you need to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. So the thermostat controls the environment. It regulates what happens. The thermometer just responds to it, right? So this is your show. The moment you tune into that virtual encounter to the moment you walk into that customer's house, you are in control. Now, to remain in control means I'm in control over my emotions. I'm the one asking questions. Again, selling's not telling. Here's one bit of advice that was told to me recently. It's like, Dominic, any question you ask is always going to be far more than any words you say, than anything you say to them or anything you tell them. Any question you ask is always going to be far more powerful and important than anything you say. However, I see it's a big weakness in salespeople. They're not asking questions. They're keeping themselves in the spotlight versus the customer. So get them to open up, get them talking. One thing you can activate in human beings, and it sounds funny classifying as human beings, but it's just how our brains work, is what's called the self-disclosure loop. So what does it mean to self-disclose? Human beings love talking about themselves, in case you didn't know, right? They love the sound of their own voice, but even more importantly, they love telling personal information about themselves. Now you wanna obviously get to the root at, whatever hidden objections there may be, their wants, their desires, things of that nature. The way I do that is asking the right open-ended questions, practicing true, deep, sincere listening to every word they're saying, look them in the eye, layering that with a responding question that is obviously built upon the premise of the answer they just gave me. And then by doing that, by them having somebody that's truly, sincerely listening to them, and having a deep-hearted conversation, what happens is they begin to open up and they begin disclosing everything and anything you ever wanted to know. It's like meeting a stranger at the bar, right? And you're really interested in the stranger. And you start looking them in the eye, you have that twinkle in your eye, you're smiling, you're asking the right questions, and they respond, and then you ask another question, you're showing sincere interest, and maybe the first person to truly listen to them in a while. And before you know it, they're telling you too much information, right? TMI. They're getting even too personal, more so than you feel comfortable with. But you can do that in the home with the customer by activating their self-disclosure loop. So here's the science behind it. They've actually hooked up high-powered 3D MRI machines to people's brains, and they found out every time they self-disclose, it actually puts a shot of dopamine into their brain, which is the pleasure drug. It's like brain crack, right? What that does, it makes them feel good. It actually causes pleasure. It makes them feel less pain or anxiety. It's almost like they got something off their chest. And you can activate that with the right questions. Selling is not telling. Ask questions. If you ask questions, you're in control of the conversation. That's who orchestrates the conversation. Now, of course, Grosso University, one thing I made sure is that my salespeople were never shooting from the hip in the close. Again, the most important thing is to front load the process, right? We want to get it to the green. So think of the close as the green, right? I want to get on the dance floor, just like in golf. Now, I shouldn't be hacking it out of the woods in the close or from the sand trap. I should be on the green, on the dance floor. So making sure I'm getting the commitments, killing objections. The best way to kill objections is bring them up first and kill them in the demo. By the end of my master presentation, I should be able to get these commitments. John and Mary, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate my product? And they should be 10 out of 10. Only a 10? I don't get 11 or 12? So if you hear it correctly, and I think I do, this is the product and we're the company you want for your home. Most of my customers at this point, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, tell me the only thing keeping them from moving forward and scheduling the work is affordability. Is that where we stand? And that's a key word, most of my customers, right? In that case, if we can make this affordable and fit into your budget, would there be any reason we couldn't get you started? I should be able to get those commitments because I funnel it down to what? Affordability, which affordability happens to be our best feature, true? Now, after my presentation, make sure I have a roadmap to follow so I'm never shooting from the hip. I see a lot of people that do a good job in the demo and then they get to the close and then it all falls apart, especially virtually. Now, when we're developing this hybrid model, one bit of advice I want to give you is the only time you email the customer anything is when you're emailing that agreement over for signature. So let me repeat that. The only time I'm emailing them anything, unless it's just a thank you email, is when I email an agreement over for signature. So one thing I made the mistake of early in my virtual lead running days is I would email an estimate over. and the customer has the estimate on their computer. Now it's almost like they got to the finish line as a victory. And then I had people that would just shut the computer. So what happens is, guys, by emailing that estimate over, they have everything they need now, and now you lost all your leverage, okay? So when you're closing this person virtually or in the home, make sure that I'm doing it on a separate form that I screen share with them. So this is a digital recreation of our closing tool that we use in the home. So you can deliver price virtually without sending them an actual formal proposal, right? So I want to make that clear, because once the customer gets that proposal, you lose all your leverage, and then they can close that computer off at any time, all right? So now the retail closes, you got price delivery. How do you deliver price? Go over the features and benefits, reprice condition, rebuild the value. Because we all know at the end of my presentation, the homeowners retain very little of the information, true? Then I want to make sure that I'm going through the proper financial terms after price delivery. So how do you funnel down to affordability? You figure out cash or finance. How do you sell on financing? Again, at Grosso University, we got detailed courses, how to deliver price, how to sell on financing, funnel it down to the monthly investment, the only thing standing in the way, using the financing as the boomerang to the sale. If you're not selling financing right now, you are absolutely killing yourself. So even before the shutdown here, even before the unemployment rate was off the charts, they said 57% of Americans cannot afford a $500 debt. So if you're relying on cash and carry customers, how many customers are you missing out on, right? So make sure that you offer a finance plan, especially right now. Obviously what's popular these days is these no payment, no interest plans. These are called bridge loans. So suppose you could put as little as $100 down or no money down. You could get the job done, not have any monthly investments for one full year, and then after a year, it's only $100 a month. Less than a cell phone bill. But you have a whole year to enjoy the features and benefits of the product you love so much without investing a single penny, and even after that, it's less than your cell phone bill. So that sounds pretty darn appealing, doesn't it? And most people can wrap their heads around the fact that in 12 months from now, or 18 months, whatever it is, that this thing's going to be blown over, Lord willing, cross our fingers. But those are plans you should be offering, because they're going to help you close more deals more often. And of course, regardless of what product I'm selling, in my retail closes, make sure I'm doing a robust return on investment. Those are the 3 closes we train on. Again, we can go in depth on those in a subsequent training, but you deliver price properly, go through financial terms, you explain the return on investment. You want to do all those things before you even talk about any discounting. This allows you to hold your margins, and it actually maintains the credibility and the value in your product or service. Now, Rick Grosso's favorite script in the world, and this is the closing script that I explained to my salespeople. This is the most important script you will ever learn, is qualification. So Rick Grosso always told me, he's like, Dominic, as you can see, he told me a lot of things. Closing without proper qualification is like trying to nail Jello to a tree. So you can imagine trying to nail Jello to a tree. It wouldn't work out so well, right? So this qualification script changed my life. I can tell you for a fact. When I got into this business, I didn't know how to sell. I had no sales experience. This is my first sales job, right? And having the Rick Grosso methodology, especially pertaining to qualification, I felt like I had this superpower that it was created from the Lord above, right? And it truly is powerful. Now, the whole goal of this qualification script is to get the customer to get comfortable and relaxed again. That's what the bridge is. It's a big takeaway, a pressure release valve. You have 6 specific questions that funnel all their objections down to money or affordability is the only thing standing in the way. You get them to agree that they'd be interested in hearing about a discount, and you get a commitment from them to give you a yes or no decision before you leave. And it does it in such a masterful way that they have no choice. Now, here's what I want to show you. I want proof in the pudding, right? Does this stuff really work virtually? All the same scripts that Rick taught me at a young age to do in the home are working even better virtually. So let me show you what I mean. And obviously this price on here, we have guaranteed for 1 year. I guess what type of timeline do you think you guys would be on for the project?
As soon as, anytime's fine,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's on your schedule.
Right. And if you guys were to call, give us a shout back, do you think it would be relatively soon?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I really got the feeling you did fall in love with the EcoSky window.
Yes.
Okay. And so far, based on everything we discussed and showed you, and I appreciate you doing this virtual appointment. It's been really great, kind of going through this with you. But so far, I do feel that the EcoSky and Mad City is a product and company you feel comfortable with, the whole package deal.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I like, you're local per se, because you are in Green Bay and you're from Wisconsin, and you're building them for Wisconsin.
Yep.
The climate here and stuff. So yeah.
So Mike, it really sounds like the big thing that would, if anything, that would prevent Mad City from working with you is the money, right?
Correct.
Okay. So if there's anything I could do to save you a substantial amount of money on these windows, you wouldn't get mad at me, right?
No.
All right. So we do have some programs available where we can save you a substantial amount of money. Now we want to make sure that we're saving as much money as we humanly can. So you get the idea. So all the same questions you see and funnel it down to affordability is the only thing standing in the way. But you can see the guy's sold in the company, he's sold in the product, he's recommitting, and you want to layer those commitments over and over. So that's one bit of advice I was always given in my sales career, is it's not enough to get someone to commit to something once, right? Because the average human being needs to say or hear something 6 to 18 times before it becomes internalized as part of their belief system. So every commitment I get, it's like stacking 2x4s on top of each other. And they say 2 2x4s is 4 times stronger than 1. So getting those layering commitments over and over, that ingrains it as part of their belief system. So make sure you're doing that. Again, we have all these scripts available for you in our Bible of In-Home Selling. They're absolutely priceless. Now, I don't care if you have 1 lead in a week or business is literally booming. When I'm in that home, guess what? The phone is literally ringing off the hook. Business is absolutely booming. We can barely keep up with the calls coming in. And this is true for many of the clients we do business with. With the right marketing right now, as Tim showed you earlier with some of those charts and some of those figures, lead generation, 14,000 more leads in his network alone, greater than last year. More people are getting worked under their homes. The more time they spend at home, the bigger that honey-do list becomes, the more urgent that those renovation projects are getting, because if I'm going to spend all this time sitting here working, I want to now enjoy my home more and get those projects taken care of. Now, what is this all about? So what we did is we retermed the initial visit reward or the initial visit discount as a new virtual or in-home stimulus that we're offering for all of our clients. And of course, this is based on the COVID-19 pandemic, and it has a really nice illustration here. And again, we can help you put together these scripts. They're absolutely masterful. But the thing I want to point out here is we made this document virtual. So for the customer to commit to you, all he has to do is take his finger and push I accept, and that's how you close the sale. So you can slide your iPad over to that customer in the home, and they can simply push I accept to basically close that sale. That means they accept the initial visit reward or the stimulus, right? Now, you also see it says I decline. Now, why is this powerful? What's the most common objection you get? Maybe. What objection do you almost never get? No, because people don't want to tell you what? No, right? So this actually forces that homeowner to give you a yes or a no answer. Now, if they really want it and they want to save money, more likely they're going to say yes, right? But this is very powerful. So whether we're doing it virtually or in the home, this major close telling the story of business is booming. Virtual appointments are in such high demand right now with COVID-19. Almost nobody wants people in their homes. And obviously the owners are cautious about our safety as well, that they're offering this massive stimulus to make sure that these projects are more flexible than ever before in our company history. So we understand what's going on right now. People are laid off. They have a lot of uncertainty about the future. Is their job, when are they going to ever get back to normal, right? So there's a lot of questions unanswered. So the owners wanted to do something special for their clients, their customers all over the great state of wherever you live, right? So you put this thing together where the owners got together with all the manufacturers and all the vendors, and they combined came together and made the stimulus program for all their customers, decided to move forward and allow us to earn their business on the initial virtual or in-home consultation. Because just because I'm doing things virtually doesn't mean it's any more efficient to do things on multiple occasions, right? Because virtual appointments take longer than in-home sales if you do them correctly. So it's just as vital to earn their business virtually on the first visit than it is, again, doing it in the home. Now, if you're an owner watching this, I want to tell you right now, if you have the instinct to lower your prices because of what's going on right now, do not lower your prices. You're running the risk of destroying your future profitability and your ability to thrive and, again, bridge the gap, because we don't know how long this is going to go. I recommend that you keep your prices the same, and if anything, increase your prices right now. You need to be stacking your cash. You need to be maximizing your profit. And obviously, Grosso University, our whole platform is geared around the foundation of profitability. You know, we always say volumes for vanity, profits for sanity. We're not order taking. We're not throwing all the books out the window on running a profitable business. If you're not a 15% net profit at the end of the day, at the end of a calendar year, you need to be doing the necessary things to either raise your prices, raise the benchmark of your sales force, but now is not the time to lower your prices. So hold your guns, hold your margins, and make sure you're hammering into your sales team. We're not order takers. We are sales professionals. We're not selling on price. We're selling on quality, value, and service, right? So making sure that they're brushing up, that they're sharpening the axe, they're getting more dialed in, holding themselves accountable. They're only going to make more money, right? So again, you have to find out creative ways for your salespeople to pay themselves more money. But that's one important thing I want to explain to you guys. Now, again, you close the sale. Again, we have all kinds of subset closes that we train on. But again, you get it to the goal line. The close is not the touchdown. The close is not the finish line. The close is getting it to the goal line. The touchdown is doing a proper button up. Because how much money do you get paid on cancellations? Zero, right? So I was trained that when you close a sale, I want you to picture you were just a lion that just pounced on a prey, and obviously you attacked it, right? You're a hungry lion in the jungle, and you killed your prey, you closed the sale, now there's blood laying around, right? It's kind of a good visual. I didn't put that on here, thank goodness. But now I need to clean up the blood because I want to tie up any loose ends and clear up any evidence of them getting closed on the first sale. I don't want them thinking about that. I don't want them coming down their base or their stairs the next day from their bedroom. They come into the kitchen, they see this blood stain, right? They're like, holy cow, we got slaughtered last night. So the button up is absolutely vital. And there's several stages of this that are important. One is making sure I'm recapping all the agreements, the scope of the work. So there's 100% clarity as to what we're doing with the design elements, the colors, the styles. Making sure that I'm putting together a robust leave behind packet. Now, if I'm doing things virtual, make sure that my leave behind packet is virtual. So emailing the brochures, all the paperwork, the finance docs, the literature. There's all kinds of weird ways or reasons why people will cancel. One is because there's not clarity as to what they're getting. One is because they're not certain about the financing, what's going on. So make sure before you leave that house that everything is crystal clear as to what they're getting. Then, of course, I want to make sure that I explain the notice of cancellation script. The notice of cancellation, obviously that 3 business day law to cancel. I want to explain that in detail and use it as a reason not to cancel. Now we have a very detailed script on that has been guaranteed to lower rescission, again, lower cancellation rates. So basically, if you look at our retails, we're pacing $100 million in one retail and $50 million in another, maintaining a 9% cancellation rate or less. I have $2 and $3 million producers that have 5% or less cancellation rates. So if you're at like a 10, 15, 20% cancellation rate or more, hopefully not, this is definitely something you need to get dialed in, is buttoning up your sales, right? Now, not just explain the notice of cancellation. After I get that done, I need to get that customer to sell the job back to me. So usually what you do is you get all the paperwork put away, you spend some time socializing with them, again, give them that beautiful smile. Now I want them to sell the job back to me, get them to tell me why they decided to move forward. So I'll lead into this. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we're always trying to get better at what we do. What were some of the big reasons why you did decide to move forward here this evening? And get them to sell it back and make sure I'm making that conversational. And how about the product? And what specifically about the product stood out to you? And how about the company? What about the company did you like the most, right? And obviously, knowing what you now know, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, now that you're an expert on the matter, would you say that in your mind, the value in what you're getting far exceeds the price? Right? You want to bring out the elephant in the room. I want them to tell me, so it ingrains in their head, the value exceeds the price, and maybe even tell them why they feel that way, right? Because of the features and benefits. One thing I want to make mention on this, and again, I'm not going to get as detailed as I would in a training, but I want to share this with you. You want to make sure that you're not teeing this up for this to cancel by them talking to somebody, a neighbor, friend, relative, another contractor, and having them interfere with your sale, right? This is your clients, your money. Don't let somebody else ruin it for you. So one thing I always brought up with my clients is, now, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, as you go about the days, weeks, and months ahead, you're going to be talking to friends, family, neighbors, fools, contractors, whatever it may be, right? And you're going to tell them about your new renovation with Grosso University. Now, take a wild guess. The first thing every nosy neighbor, or friend, or relative wants to know is, how much, right? Now, if I just came in here today and told you that without knowing anything about who I am, our company, our product, or service, and just said, here, 15,000, you want it? What are you going to say? 15,000, you're out of your mind, right? Because again, you don't know what you're getting, right? So the reality is unless your friend, family, relatives know what they're getting, they're going to say the same thing. So do me a favor. As you go about your days, weeks, and months ahead, and you're talking to your friends, neighbors, family, if anyone has any question as to how much our prices are and what we offer, give them my name and number. We'll set up an appointment with our office for a free, no obligation in-home estimate. That way they can appreciate the value in what you're getting, just as you do right now. Fair enough? So I appreciate that. I have your word on that and get a handshake on that. So don't let, again, that customer go about their days ahead and talk to their dad or their brother or sister and have them put a kibosh to the whole project. Make sure you're tying up those loose ends. So here's the thing, guys. I know it's a very long-winded webinar, and I hope you guys are enjoying the content here. And obviously, I can go on for days on this stuff. But you need to make sure that I have a methodical way of delivering my entire process for virtual and in-home. So no matter what I'm doing, I am prepared for battle. So whether you're doing virtual or in-home, I promise you, with the right methodology, the right technology, the right CRM, your salespeople are going to be able to close at least 40, 50, even 60%, regardless of that physical barrier. So again, it's a learning curve. I get it. It's different. It's going to take it a while, just like any habit, right? Any habit feels weird in the beginning. So Rick Ross always did the clap your hands and then try to switch it, right? Try to tie your shoes a different way. Try to start shaving from a different side of your face. Everything's uncomfortable in the beginning. And that's all virtual sales is, just different. But as you get involved with it more and more in your organization and you use it as a part of your business now, this hybrid model, you're going to start seeing how many advantages the virtual selling there really is and how much more efficient it is for your company. So excellent content there. I appreciate everyone going through that. Now, obviously, Grosso University, we pride ourselves in offering the most comprehensive online training platform in the home services business. If you're a home improvement company, listen to this webinar. If you're looking at tools to build your call center, if you're looking at tools to dial in your back end of your business, the production, if you're looking at ways to hire, train, and recruit managers, field managers, develop the right sales culture, if you're looking for a proven step selling methodology, and more importantly, a tool to help you onboard and train salespeople, this is the most comprehensive online training platform in the business. And obviously, guys, I'm not going to go in depth on what this platform is. We're more than happy to schedule a free tour for you. But we have about 250 hours of world-class sales training and CEO level content. If you're an owner of a business, you're going to have in here all the metrics and benchmarks and pricing information you need to make sure you're getting the right margin. You have the right 10-to-1 ratio against lead to marketing spend, right? Or marketing spend to NSLI. All the things you need to grow and manage your sales force. If you're a sales manager, right? How to basically compensate your sales team. The governing documents you should have to run your organization. All the scripts that I had in here. I have a 122-page Bible of in-home selling in here that's top of the line, that takes your salesperson from the moment they walk up to the house to the moment they walk out of the sale, everything in between, exactly what we need. Here's the most beautiful part about this. And believe me, this is everything we've done to create a $120 million dynasty within our own retails. The beautiful part about this is we can personalize this entire website just for your company. So we're actually offering what we call Grosso U, Y-O-U, which stands for Your Online University. Again, what that allows us to do is when your sales force logs into this platform, it would be your company color scheme, your company logos, be your own piece of intellectual property. And as you can see here, on here we'll have a file vault, and the file vault is a repository for all your proprietary documents. If you have different brochures, needs assessment forms, other documents, employee handbooks, any other scripts and student workbooks you want housed in here, you no longer have to go to the Konica Minolta machine, scan and photocopy all these things over and over again, right? Everything is digitized in here, a one-stop repository for everything. This is a world-class platform unlike anything else in the business. So we definitely encourage you guys to set up a free tour of that. We have an exciting announcement we want to make. Closers Camp is back. So if you're wondering what Closers Camp is, I got a quick little video I'm going to play, and then we'll talk about a promotion that we have going on for those of you participating in this webinar.
What's up, closers? Dominic here with Grosso University. I have an announcement I'm excited to share to all of our followers out there. We have successfully rescheduled Closers Camp for February 15th through the 17th, 2021 at the beautiful Gaylord Opry and Convention Center in Nashville. This is an event you do not want to miss. Not only are we going to have 3 days of the most comprehensive sales training for your sales team you've ever seen by yours truly, we're also going to have CEO breakout sessions where you as a business owner or manager are going to learn from the brightest minds in the home improvement space exactly what they're doing to thrive in today's economy. To add another layer of excitement, we're excited to also announce the real Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort, is going to be giving 3 hours of his comprehensive straight line sales training. He's one of the most world-class sales trainers in the business today. Jordan's straight line sales training is going to help you close more deals more often, and it's going to get you pumped up and ready to set new records. And finally, we're also going to have National Hall of Fame speaker and New York Times best-selling author, Lieutenant Colonel Waldo Wingman Waldman, giving an unbelievable motivational speech that's going to have your sales team ready to push it up to all new heights of success and profitability once they get out of our camp. You do not want to miss this. To register for this camp, simply click the link in the description to get your seat. And as always, yes, you are a closer.
Closers Camp, we don't want this to be an education. We don't want this just to be an education of a lifetime. We want this to be an experience of a lifetime you will not soon forget. So you look at the lineup there. We're going to have myself, Nick Richmond, Jordan Belfort, Waldo the Wingman Waldman. These are all world-class sales trainers and public speakers that are going to get your sales team so fired up and motivated. We guarantee when they go back to your respective company, your own retail, they're going to be ready to chew through walls and dominate the competition. One thing I want to announce here, as you can see, is in this competition, because it is a competition, we're giving away $8,000 in cash prizes. So we're encouraging all companies, bring your top closers with you. We're going to throw $8,000 in cash on the line, and your salespeople are going to have a lot of incentive to put their skills to the test and memorize and maximize this methodology that we're going to train them on. Now, for your owners that are coming here, we're also going to have 2 days of CEO breakout sessions. So what is a CEO breakout session? Basically, that is where all the owners and managers, they go up to a separate breakout room, and you hear from the brightest minds, again, as we said there, as to what they're doing to thrive during this difficult time. So we're going to have a lot of information on marketing strategies, obviously different ways to generate leads, get your lead costs down, have a higher, again, 10-to-1 ratio against NSLI to lead expenditure, how to maintain a 15% net profit at the end of the year. Again, how to make sure that I'm maximizing this virtual world, the different technologies from our sponsor partners. All that stuff is going to be available to you. And what we're really excited about is this new promotion is all the subscribers at Grosso University online. So you subscribe to an annual subscription, we're including a free ticket to our Closers Camp, February 15th through the 17th. This ticket normally retails for $1,000 for a salesperson and $14.99 for a CEO ticket. We're going to include that absolutely free with every online subscription. So make sure you take advantage of that, guys. It's limited time. But we can fit over 1,000 people in this room. We're going to make an event of a lifetime. So make sure you take advantage of this offer. All right, everybody, we'd like to thank you for participating in this webinar. Obviously, to take advantage of Engage and the services that Tim offers at MarketSharp, the CRM, it's an unbelievable tool for your company. Of course, to reach out to Grosso University, make sure you take a picture of this. Schedule a free tour of our online platform. You just got to reach out to Matt Burke there at mburke@grossouniversity.com, or you can call him directly at 858-699-0328. We really appreciate your time listening to this webinar, and as always, yes, you are a closer.